Yeah, I don't know why YouTube they had like a recommendation for the orientation on YouTube, which was like landscape and portrait, and I just wanted landscape. I don't know why they did that to me, but glad I figured that out. All right, so Rigetti had a conference call this morning. Nothing burger. Yeah, I saw the gap down this morning on SNDK. Trust me, this is a chart that's staying up on my screen. We'll see if this thing gives like a morning push right up to yesterday's highs and then maybe fails. With it, I'll also be watching MU. You'll notice this one also had a very, very similar gap down. So these things will act somewhat similar. You get the morning gap down, and then we'll see if this thing gives a morning drive. SNDK, same thing, morning gap down. That is also true for STX, and that is also true for WDC. So they'll all be trading in unison. So if one of them's getting a gap down, they're all getting a gap down. Oklo just got a bunch of U.S. approvals. I'm short Oklo. I don't know that a bunch of U.S. approvals will help this name. I mean, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not entirely sure. But, I have like a 146 short, so there's no real reason for me to do anything with it at the moment. There's no long setup here. I mean, is it possible we can go, pop back up into 130s? Yeah, maybe. I like what CSIQ is doing. I want to be careful shorting a bunch of fresh new volume. It could be that this thing, pulls back and builds a new base, but I don't know that I'm going to be shorting it. At least not yet. Again, you'll even notice how this thing is gapping down. The reason CSIQ is gapping, a lot of these names, like especially on the solar side, they're being re-rated for energy storage. Yeah, but Oklo doesn't have any earnings. And actually their earnings are today, David. So just want to throw that out there. They don't even have, they have like 100,000 in projected revenue by 2029. So they've got literally zero projected revenue this year, next year, the year after that. Like they just don't make money. Did you trim some off yesterday into the strength? Seems like we're getting a lot of subtle gap downs this morning. We'll see how the market responds to that. No, NRGV was not on last night's watch. The reason NRGV is not on my watch is because this thing trades $9 million. There's nothing I could do with that. Right? Like I couldn't go and get a 500K, 700K, $1 million position. There's just not enough liquidity. Nice, Rigetti. Let's go. You missed buying the breakout on Rambus? I mean, not really. Yeah, you didn't really miss anything. This is one that I was taking a peek at too, but it's not like it really went anywhere, right? And a few of these semis actually didn't go anywhere. I thought AVGO didn't really move too much. Like imagine trying to, and this is why exactly I said yesterday during pre-market prep, You get this kind of a gap up, so you get a nice bounce. Okay, that's fine. Then you get the gap up. All right, that's great. But now all of a sudden you really can't buy anything, because if you did, like, this is the action that you got all day. Imagine trying to get positioned into this, right? That's just terrible. Yeah, I had Nugget short from 185. I don't have Nugget long, though. I had Nugget short from up here, and I covered it on 10/22. I technically covered some on the 21st, then the rest on the 22nd. And then I flipped long using NEM on Friday. And then I sold a little bit into yesterday's gap up, like right in here. And then I'm just sitting in the rest. No, this is not a long setup. BE is not a good long setup, in my opinion. BE is still, and I'll tell you right now, BE is still, well, it's not as extended. It's up 5.6% from the 50 simple moving average. So it's not as extended, but still just a touch extended for me, right? This isn't something that I'm comfortable buying in any way. I don't think it matters. I think what I said still holds true, in the fact that you don't want to have to. Okay, so here are the few drawdowns of being a day trader. One, you have to come up with a fresh idea every single day in order to make money. Two, you're oversizing positions because you're trying to make money on a smaller time frame. And then three, you're always fighting near your average, right? That should make sense, because every time you go to get in, price is near your average. When you're a swing trader, the idea is, right, like, let's just think about ARK for an example. The idea is, a swing trader is you're catching this move right as it's breaking out, and then by the end of the day, it's no longer near your average. But imagine being a day trader and you just like selling that position, like being done with it. Well, then all of a sudden you miss a multi-month trend, right? Because, and then you oversized it because you know you're a day trader, because you're only trying to capture a smaller time frame move. So you oversize it. You're fighting near your average. If you're looking at red, it's bigger than it should be. There's like a lot of bad habits that you learn while day trading that do not translate well into swing trading. And I hear a lot of people say, well, Ariel, you made your money as a day trader and then went to swing trading. Yes, but it was a very hard transition mentally, because you're always making a bunch of money in a really good environment as a day trader. Or let's say you made a bunch of money as a day trader and then think you're going to, like, all of a sudden revamp your rules, revamp your strategy, like revamp the way your brain works. And like your reward is like pushed further out than the instant gratification, right? When you're a day trader, it's like instant gratification. The problem is that, again, even thinking about that instant gratification, just know that 90% of day traders fail, right? Literally 90%. So, I mean, I would say Matt as is a very talented day trader when the market is very, very specific to his style. His portfolio has literally been sideways for 5 years, right? Imagine being in that scenario where you literally have not made any new money in 5 years, and you're a talented day trader. I mean, again, there's obviously some kind of issue there, but I don't want to have to go through that in my life. What would I say are my three biggest strengths in trading and one thing that I want to improve? One thing that I want to improve on is my situational awareness is always getting better. My timing is something that could always improve. My three biggest strengths are being a good listener, understanding where money's going and scanning the market. And so I'm typically finding the stocks that go on to make some of the best moves, even if I don't get myself into them. And following the rules that I've laid out for myself. Very, very, very rarely do I ever break, stride in doing something that I'm not good at doing. I probably have a few more strengths and weaknesses that I could think of for sure. Right? Like I don't typically ever oversize positions. I'm usually very patient once I'm in my winners. Um, Maybe I've got a tendency to be a little bit stubborn on particular names, like an SNDK, for instance, where it's like I understand it's getting a little vertical and I want to be in it on the short side because I see the opportunity there. Do I look at average turnover to filter out? I just think about daily dollar volume over a 20-day period. What do I think about pullback? The pullback in core weave, this isn't a pullback anymore. This is relative weakness, right? And you might assume that the earnings in core weave were positive, but the stock went down. And then not only did it go down, it gapped down. So barring some big rebound today, this is no longer just a pullback. This is total relative weakness. The best stocks did not break their October 22nd low. I just want to throw that out there, right? Look at where Palantir bounced. October 22nd low, right? Look at where Robinhood bounced. October 22nd low. Look at where NBIS bounced before its October 22nd low. Look at what they did to CoreWeave. Here's October 22nd low, right? So whatever opinions you have about CoreWeave, I would just, kind of make sure that you're understanding that it's actually showing more relative weakness. No, I don't really. I trade using the daily. I mean, I look at the weekly, but by looking at the daily all the time, I understand what's showing relative strength and relative weakness. Netflix keeps rejecting the 200. That's no good. That's no good. Also, Costco's no good at the moment. That could change, of course. And then Meta at the moment is also no good. What am I missing? Buying 5-minute ORB on RMBS yesterday, stopping out at the low of day. You shouldn't have been buying that gap up. I talked about this here yesterday. I even said, I literally said it on here if you were with me. I said, I'm not buying any gap ups this morning. I'm going to wait. And what I mean by wait is 5 minutes is not enough of a waiting period. I'm talking about like 30 minutes, right? Wait like a half hour. When you get a gap up like yesterday, right, where you're closing 107.68 and then you're opening 111.30, you need to wait like a half hour. I mean, who cares? If you miss it, you miss it. But if you sit here and chase this gap up, then, you got stopped out. I mean, and that's a lesson learned. You should not be buying gap ups. Trust me. Don't buy gap ups, especially without some kind of a catalyst. There's no catalyst for Rambus to be gapping up other than every other stock in the market's gapping up, and then half of them were acting like crap. Thoughts on Open and QS? QS, I don't love the stock that much, but I do like the base that it's building, so I'm going to give it some credit. It deserves some credit until it breaks below the 50 simple moving average. I still think it's shaping up a little bit better. Open Door also a little bit better in terms of price action. Obviously got washed out on earnings, instantly bought up some more yesterday. They have a big short float. I don't see a setup to get involved, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't see a spot for me to buy it, but I definitely have an eye on it. Yeah, gold gapped up again, and that's totally fine. I already own NEM, which is also gapping up about $1.20. Yeah, Bitcoin has been a red flag, Gabo. This isn't like new with Bitcoin. This is excuse me. There has been relative weakness being shown in Bitcoin. I don't know, since it hit its $125,000 high again and then completely failed while the market was just ticking higher and making a new all-time high. Dude, I'm a little frustrated with Sedge too. I had an alert on Sedge at 4160. It was like 4106 was the spot that I was watching. Right, 4102, and it gapped up above, and 4160 is kind of where the trigger went off, and I just missed it. Really nice trend yesterday. Even now, you stay aside biotechs. Yeah, if you want to trade biotechs, why not just own LabU? Right? If you want to own biotechs, why not just LabU? SoFi's cool. It looks a little like Palantir, but for now, I leave it alone. Right? I'm not showing up on day 3 to buy this stock. It's just not happening. Yeah, I don't know that I'll buy SATS at the moment. Too illiquid for me, but yes, clean setup. Maybe a little inside day would be good. Oh, you managed to get Baidu? Yeah, I was looking at this one yesterday. I saw that I was gapping up last night still. Yeah, just a little bit. I thought this one was pretty good over Thursday's highs. Not bad. Yeah, I didn't mind Baidu at all. Well, it's not a percent from the 50 simple moving average because every stock moves a different amount per day. So it's more about a multiple from the 50 simple moving average. In other words, if the stock moves 3% per day, I don't like buying more than 12% from the 50 simple moving average. Right? So once you get to like 15 or 18% above the 50 simple moving average and it moves 3% per day, you're more than 6 times its average true range from the 50 simple. That's too much. Thoughts on SMCI? It's garbage. Where is the relative strength on this stock at all? Where's the relative strength? I don't want to own stocks that are just going down. I bought Neem because it looked to me like gold was trying to turn back up. So it was a reclaim of the 50 simple moving average, but I actually bought NEM before it reclaimed the 50 simple. I bought NEM as it was reclaiming its opening print, right? And its opening print was like right here. And I bought it as it was reclaiming its opening print. And when I was looking at gold, and really gold futures, it looked like gold futures was trying to take out a prior day high right in here. Right? And that's when I got re-involved in NEM, when gold futures was doing this. Then gold futures kind of pulled back a little bit, and then gold just went sideways for the day, but NEM allowed me to hold for the day because it closed on the day like this. So it was about an 8% portfolio buy, and I just held the whole thing overnight. Right? The stop was super, super tight. I mean, this is not like some fast mover, right? I think it was like less than 2% risk to low. Yeah, 1.64% risk to low on, just under a 10% position. Do I consider double the size with fast trims of half positions in volatile market conditions? No. When it's volatile market conditions, I actually don't want to size up. That's the exact opposite of what I want to do. So Valero looks good. Valero's interesting. And with crude oil, kind of pushing a little bit higher today, I won't be surprised if more of these refiners start to go. It'll be interesting to see when, crude finally gets back above the 200. My thoughts on IBM, nice base being put in. We'll see what happens today. SoFi, I can't buy it. Talked about that one just a moment ago. Yeah, Rocket Lab, if it can start living above its 50 simple, I think that would be good. My thoughts on ONDS, this is hot garbage. There's no setup here, right? I mean, could it just bounce and then set up? Yeah, I think that's possible, but I'm not looking to buy stocks that, are just Christmas tree pattern down. I want to buy stocks as they're coming out of tightness. See what I'm saying? You go up, then you start to build sideways, and then you get nice and tight, and then you get going. Lyft was interesting. Lyft was interesting a couple days ago. Yeah, very nice for Lyft. I don't see anything wrong with Lyft if you bought it a few days ago. See how things got nice and tight against their moving averages right here? See how tight everything is? I just missed it. I was staring at it. I just didn't take it. Tesla was buyable at the 50 simple moving average. Right here, we're just kind of stuck in a range. But I thought it was buyable on Friday. Fastly, is that FSLY? Yeah, nice high volume close setup right through here. Right through $11 basically. Not bad. Good action. Do I trade during bank holidays? I trade if the market's open and there's something to do. Do I think it's a red flag for the market that Bitcoin's not moving? I think Bitcoin is just an outlet for liquidity when there's extra money in the market. But when that money wants to go somewhere else, like, I don't know, building out data centers or robotic stocks, then here's the reality with Bitcoin is Bitcoin hasn't really done anything to innovate, right? Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. And unless people park more money there, it doesn't necessarily have to go higher. Yeah, 20 days for my ADR time frame. 20 days. Thoughts on YPF? This is an Argentinian stock. I don't really see. I was looking at these a couple days ago. I mean, it should look a little like GGAL. It looks a little probably like BBAR. Looks a little like SUP-V. Yeah, I mean, it looks all right. When did I buy NEM? Yeah, I just talked about that. I could tell you exactly the price that I bought it. I bought NEM at 82.81. Right here. What am I looking at this morning? Possible longs. Well, I'm going to wait about the first half hour. I've got a basket of Chinese equities I'm interested in. I've got a basket of gold names that I might be interested in. I've got a basket of earnings winners that are looking pretty good. We'll see kind of how those, shape up. Recent earnings names, those have been working well. Like, well, you could be looking at a Datadog. You could be looking at, Datadog's obviously a good one. Rivian had a nice high volume close setup. Sedge had a nice high volume close setup. HCC is another one that had a nice high volume close setup. I think this is gapping down just a touch today, but nice high volume close setup. General Motors did the exact same thing, weeks ago. FSLY is another one that had a nice. So you're noticing follow through from like new merchandise. Oh yeah, XPEV big base. Oh yeah, massive base. How do I decide the amount to trim? So the way I look at it is I like to trim on day 3 to 5. Like, for instance, NEM with the gap up, and considering how much it was up yesterday, I did trim off the first fifth of my position. I usually like to trim anywhere from a third to half on day 3 to 5. right? Or some combination of that, depending on if the market is coming off a correction, how the group is acting, how the stock is acting in terms of relative strength. I then trim some more on extensions from the 50 simple moving average. I talk about that quite a bit. I don't like to buy stocks that are extended, and I like to make sure that I'm trimming stocks that are extended. And then I just let it work. So, and then I just let it work against ascending moving averages. But yeah, it is based on extensions from the 50. Yeah, PL, I actually bought this one yesterday. We are basically flat on it. I have a 1328, so I'm flat on it, but I did sell a couple yesterday because of this poor close. And ASTS had earnings coming up. So I didn't want ASTS to take PL down overnight. And we're basically flat on it with ASTS. No real movement overnight on earnings. How do I avoid choppy markets and charts? What do I look for? The best way to avoid choppy charts is to make sure you're trading stocks in leading groups. Those tend to be the least choppy. Rule number one. Yeah, we're seeing some range expansion. While you're seeing some range expansion, you're also seeing some names that weren't acting well yesterday. So I don't know the ticker for FlowServe. You're going to have to ask, put the ticker in there. It's not perfect yet. Run doesn't look perfect. Well, GFI, I don't know how GFI was acting on Friday. Yeah, you see, like, you chose a stock that like couldn't even take out its intraday highs. That's exactly why I went with NEM. We're talking the liquid leader in the entire gold space, right? So NEM was able to take out that high. Like, this made me very comfortable when it closed well above where I bought it. So, and my stop was low day. I like F. I think F is interesting. Ford. Yeah, I think Ford is interesting on the back of General Motors acting well. Yeah, Intel's not acting terrible. Actually got to set a little alert on this one. Well, stocks that double off the lows are good, right? And then, I mean, not all bases are created equal. Sometimes, you might get a 3 to 5 week base after a double off the lows. It really just depends, right? What group is it in? How are its peers acting? How's the market acting at the time you go to buy it? Right? 3 to 5 week bases after 100% moves off the low are usually, about that. But that's too like of a generalized question. Like, there's so many little nuances that go with that. That's just like hard to look for that specific thing. I mean, you could look for it. Look for stocks that have doubled off the lows and then wait for a consolidation. Do I buy inside days? Not often, unless they're like, reclaiming like a key moving average. Yeah, I've looked at Rambus. There's not much to do there. I know people bought this thing yesterday and it's gone absolutely nowhere. So I don't like to chase gap up, especially on no news. Yeah, and people are still in love with crypto. I mean, and this is part of what happens when you just let Tom Lee on television every single day. When you let Tom Lee on television and he tells everybody who's listening that he still thinks Bitcoin can go to $200,000 this year, we understand the stupidity, right? He's talking about that this thing could effectively go up 100% in the last 6 weeks. Right? So people just keep staring at it and staring at it and staring at it and expecting some big move. That's just not coming, right? Could we go to 120K? Could we go to 130K by year end? Sure. Are we going to 200,000? No, that's not happening. STLD. Yeah, not a bad maybe pullback buy. I don't know how the other steel names are acting. NUE, CLF, Reliance Steel. Dude, the other ones look pretty terrible. Thoughts on Frog? A little frustrating, dude. I was watching Frog like in here for the longest time. I thought this was going to break out, but too close to earnings. And then, that happened. And then ultimately ended up going. I mean, Frog's probably one to keep an eye on going forward. But again, high volume close setup, right? And then nice day two follow through. BTU, yeah, coal stocks have been doing all right. Coal, nat gas. No, I don't take profits necessarily at 2R. I typically take profits between day 3 to 5. But never just like at, it's 2R, I got to take some profit. FSLY, Scott, is just showing nice relative strength on the high volume close setup. Well, if SNDK breaks lower, I'll be looking at MU, STX, WDC, right? Then you've got some group weakness. Until then I'm just kind of leaving it alone. Yeah, energy and oil. I tweeted about those like 2 weeks ago, right? You've had a name like PARR. Hopefully some of you guys have bought this one. Yesterday was a nice day to get long. I think Dino's got a nice base. I think VLO looks pretty good, etc. Yeah, LMND, Lemonade. Yeah, another one. Not bad. Yes, it is. Lemonade high volume close is definitely on watch. I mean, I was kind of hoping for another gap up overnight. I was hoping for like a 280 kind of a gap up for SNDK and then like a morning push and then a fail. That would have been nice. Thoughts on Walmart? No, it's in a weak group. Yeah, and not to mention this thing's like so slow. Theo, there should never be any reason you're trading Walmart. I mean, it moves like 1.3% per day. I'm not long Futu. Needs a little bit more time, and then I'll get long Futu. I think it looks pretty decent still. Then you need to understand the actual, like any tips for someone struggling with entries, struggling to understand what tight means exactly. Yeah, I mean tight with moving averages. I mean tight physical price action. That's the important part, right? Tight. Like if you don't understand what tight means, you need to study. Like, okay, so this is kind of what I suggest. Go back and look at any chart that's made a big move and look at from where that big move started, right? Like you could even go back and study Tesla. Look at how tight, look at these higher lows that were being built. And just before it took off, look at how tight this thing started to trade, right? It didn't start to have that big wide range anymore. All of a sudden, it just started to stick all within 1 day's range before it took off, right? You could even look at a name like, which didn't necessarily work as well. Look at a name like Dell, right? And look at what it started doing right in here, where 4 days in a row, it had the exact same highs. Look at how tight this started trading, right? Look at how tight you're just resting right up against the 20 before expansion, right? Some are going to work, some are not, of course, right? You could look at ARC, right? One that I bought months ago. Look at how sideways and tight this thing started to trade. This is just a tight little range. That's all this is. Plug did nothing on earnings. Let me look. Yeah, this chart's kind of garbage, though. Ah, man, so thin. It kind of looks like a gold name. Oh, Silver Corp. That makes sense. I was about to say, it looks like all of the gold names without even knowing who they were. Yeah, VIST. This is also trading super tight. Yeah, VIST looks good, dude. How do I decide whether HVC? Usually HVCs are good within the first few days, is what I've kind of noticed. Oh, is this the flow serve that everybody's been asking me about? Well, it's just above its own high volume close. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know why it's not moving. So it kind of should be going like the other HVCs at this point, but the minimum ATR, I don't like trading stocks usually under 3% per day. VNet is a little bit illiquid for me, unfortunately. Yeah, a little illiquid, but it'll probably go if the other Chinese equities go. At what time do I avoid buying HVCs? When I notice that they're not working. But I just showed you like 10 examples of them actually working in this market. That's really important. So when they're working, that's what you want to see. EOSE was buyable on Friday. If you missed it, then you missed it. CLS, this looks like a late stage base to me. Could it keep going? Maybe, but this is a late stage base. It's probably likely this stock, if I just had to guess, in the next 30 days is probably getting its ass kicked versus still going higher. Just my guess. I would suspect that this is all late stage stuff. If I could go back to having my average at $100, which is where I initially bought it, I'd be happy as a clam. And I would be using like the 50 simple moving average as my stop. And I'd be out of most of my position anyway. Nah, too thin, man. Too thin. This thing is trading 15 million bucks a day. Avoid stuff like that. You don't want to trade stocks that are that illiquid. CRDO, not bad. Not bad. We'll see if this can tighten up a little bit more. There's probably so many people that chased this stock yesterday or bought the dip or, this is how it was going yesterday, and a lot of names went nowhere. Thoughts on him spring being almost loaded? Tobias, I'm noticing a something that you're doing quite often. You're looking at stocks that are getting beaten up, brother. I don't understand what there's something there that's like you keep looking at these stocks that are getting beaten up. I don't understand why. I'm not trying to pick on you, but this HIMS is garbage, dude. This price action is trash. It's below the 200 simple moving average. It's been going down for days, and more days in a row, all while the stock market's at an all-time. Could it go higher? Of course it can. And could I be wrong? Of course I can. But you're focused on the wrong things, dude. You're focused on stocks that are going down for some reason. Like you're trying to buy the bottom on something. Trust me, dude. Trust me. You're not going to be happy with your performance 24 months from now, 48 months from now, 5 years from now, if these are the kind of names and, charts that you're trying to buy for longs. Don't believe me or do believe me, but I promise you it's not the way. I'm not trying to, lead you the wrong way here, but focusing, you got to do what you want to do, but focusing on stocks like HIMS below the 200 for what, dude? That's like you telling me, like over here, oh man, deck is loading. It's just getting its ass kicked, but it's loading. And then all of a sudden, it's still loading. Like avoid stocks below the 200 simple moving average. Trust me. Let institutions drive your stock that you're interested at least back above the 200 simple moving average, at the very least. I'm kind of confused on this question. What is your target from percent low of day for buying? I'm not understanding what that. Again, every stock is going to be different because not all stocks move the same percentage amount per day. right? So that one's hard to answer. NBIS is still on the watch list, but I'm just going to let it trade today, right? Very, very volatile on earnings. So super volatile. And I don't know what it's going to do. Maybe this thing would be interesting if it could take out yesterday's highs. But yeah, I don't know. Probably just good to leave it alone. CYTK, is that like cytokine or whatever? Cytokinetics. Yeah, I'm assuming this is a biotech, right? Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one. You'll have to know. I don't know enough about this company, if they've got a long cash runway, if they're got any PDUFA dates coming. So you have to know that information. Thoughts on buying AMPX yesterday? I mean, just such a sloppy chart. It's just sloppy. I mean, maybe fine. I don't know. Just sloppy. Corning, GLW. This one's been staying kind of on my radar. So, yeah, doing a nice job just hanging out above the 50. We'll see if I could find a spot to get into it. I think PL will have to live above the 20 simple moving average in order to even be buyable. Grab is interesting. This one has a really big base. Yeah, a pretty interesting name, honestly. Big base. How do I use the low a day label on my chart? So when I go to buy something, I want to know what my stop would be. So what is low of day? And then that kind of helps me figure out what my position sizing can be. Nah, NAC is going to move with like these rare earth stocks, and right now they kind of suck. Dude, you could build these indicators just using like ChatGPT. They're really good. ChatGPT does a nice job. Perplexity too. TMDX, not bad. Not bad. Trying to find support at the rising 50. I think that's a pretty good line in the sand. I like the base that's actually being built here too. Too extended from the 50 simple moving average. 5 books that I got the most utility out of. Bill O'Neill's How to Trade Money in Stocks, the Mark Minervini books, Shorting with the O'Neill Disciples, Stan Weinstein's How to Profit in a Bull and Bear Market. There are other really great ones too. High Probability Trading by Marcel Link's another good one. Yeah, TSM, AVGO. I am definitely watching the semis. We'll see. I don't buy at more than 4 times its ATR from the 50. I trim at 7 times, and then 8, 9, 10, every ATR above 7. So if it can get back above the 50 simple moving average and stay above, then yes. I like Rocket Lab. I'll be keeping an eye on that one today. Anyway, guys, I got to get rolling. Appreciate you guys as always. Much love. And Matt, yes, you can be. I know people that trade highly profitable and also have full-time jobs. You just have to learn what you're doing. You have to learn to trade. It's another career, but you can learn to trade and also have a full-time job. I know people who do it. Anyway, much love, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Trade them well today. Be patient at the open. We don't know if the market's going to come under a little bit of pressure or if it's just going to continue to grind higher. So I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Later.